Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Step by Step. Today we got a fourth iteration of my team, I guess, in Final Fantasy. We're gonna do the White Mage today, so by all means, let's get into it. Alright, we always start with, 25 by 25 grid. I always start with this, and some people just, if you don't understand, 25 by 25 is the default grid size of Roll20's default maps. So it's easy to import and easy to just put on, and sometimes that's necessary for me. A lot of the times I almost make a map on the fly with like 10-15 minutes left before we have to play the game, and I'm like struggling honestly to find something or do something, so it is nice. That's why I kind of do the 25 by 25 grid. You can see that I'm using some stone. We're gonna do the church over here in the corner, and we're gonna have it like be a kind of an alcove, and where like the mountainside essentially is right next to this church, or goes into the mountainside is the church. We went with some gray stones, kind of just kind of blotted out what I wanted. I did want some green in there because I wanted some trees to represent kind of this ravine that you walk into, and there's a church, and then atop the mountain-ish area is the white stone or the wind crystal. And we went with we were trying to scale it properly, but obviously I didn't know what I was doing. But you can always scale it to what you think it should be. I went with a right corner just because I wanted like basics, like standard like grid snapping. That way it's easier for my players to understand that, this is the end of the map. We shouldn't, we can't go further than this, or it's a wall. Here I'm placing small platforms that lead up to the white crystal, the crystal of air, and we're gonna kind of fill it in. It's not too bad. I went with kind of a rocky kind of earth-like tone at the bottom as well, as if the grass is trying to climb up it, but it can't. And then we went with the interior of this church. This church, I do realize, is pretty small, so I did end up like putting at the end of the church a small door that you can literally just put anything behind it. You could just argue that it's a small studio kind of apartment kind of thing, like recess that goes into the mountain, where the White Mage puts all his stuff. Because I did say it's a church, so obviously I wanted church pews. We went and looked for a door. I thought this wooden door was pretty cool. We gotta size it down. We gotta snap it to the middle, and then we gotta. It's weird with doors for me because they're never thick enough. They're never easily like determining what it is on the map. If I put like a wall there, people are like, oh, it's a window, or oh, it's just decoration. But no, I constantly have trouble with my players finding out that it's a door, and I have to constantly say like there's a door here. So I don't know, try and make them like a little more brighter maybe, using like, or darker wood as well. Here I'm placing the place, like I went with the teleportation circle kind of thing. The stone structure kind of makes sense, and then we turned it a little bit, whitened it up a bit, and then went ahead and found that crystal in the sci-fi battle maps, which they have a lot of assets, but again, for D&D, not a lot of things that you can do with it. But it is nice to have those options. Went and changed the contrast a little bit. It looks really good. And then we went and started doing the rest of the map. So we did the rest of the map here, and then we had to scale it again. Again, they don't really remember anymore what you previously did, and instead go back to the default, which I'm not a big fan of the default, but I also understand it. Like it's kind of going back to what it was so that you can change it to a different way if you want to, but I just never had fun with that. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and look. I believe we looked for stone, like pews or something like that, or maybe a stone window, which is what I did. And then we went ahead and just put a window there. I mean, it's not necessary for a window to be in a mountainous area. Just walk outside. There you go. And especially if it's a ravine, you don't really need a window there, but I don't know. I thought a window would make it look better. And in hindsight, with this map, I really should have put extra lighting in it. But again, if it's a ravine, it doesn't get a lot of light. It gets a lot of light one time during the day. That's what ravines do. They get one time during the day, a lot of light. Anyway, we went and found some church pews. Again, it's easy to search for stuff like that, but we went with a podium. We could have went with an altar, but I went with a podium. And that's the back end, so you got to turn it around, and then you kind of match it up to a square so someone could stand at the podium if they wanted to. Then we get some church pews, and we went with just three church pews. Again, this is a very small church, so we went with 3 church pews and kind of made them like kind of stick together. Gave them a little space between each other. And then like moved them back a little bit. Yep. And then we were like, okay, well, let's do some decorations. Let's do some candelabras. And instead of going like to the side or to the side, we went with 2 in the corners, and we kind of sized them down to fit in the corners. And then 1 on almost like on top of the pews, like it's part of the not the pews, the podium, which I thought was kind of cool because it kind of lines up. If you look at it, it kind of lines up with the 5 little points. And then there's a couple statues that I wanted to do, but ultimately I just did kind of like cornerstones, if that makes sense. You'll see in a moment that I grab a corner piece for a wall, and we just put them in every corner. Basically, every corner has a cornerstone, and it's, just a depiction of whatever. Like, you can make it whatever you want. I think it's supposed to be just decorative, and I wanted it on top of the wall so that it essentially is in the ceiling. Like, you're looking up to see these things. And I don't know, I thought they're pretty cool. It's better than, this simple church where they have a statue of the god or goddess or whatever in the corner or in the middle of the room. I am guilty of having that happen. It is evocative until it starts to become boring, in which case, it's not that big a deal. Here we're looking for another bookshelf, and we found it super fast. Again, you can search things. It's pretty easy to search things. We took the snap tool off and then moved them to the side, so we got a bunch of books over here. And then we went ahead and grabbed, I think we started to do the foliage now, or the rocks. Oh yes, I remember. We added a piano. in the corner, just cause why not? It's not a big deal. Piano and a chair for that piano, and I believe we just went with a simple chair. Nothing too big, nothing too serious. However, I did think the scaling on the chair was a little big compared to the rest of the room. I think in hindsight I should have scaled the chair down a little bit. Again, all these map things can be, fixed and done by yourself if you're doing on Inkarnate. Just kind of play around with it. Ultimately, it's not a big deal. I tried testing out some of these stairs, and I was like, I can do stairs, I can do these types of stairs. I was looking around for like organic stairs, and the only organic ones I've seen are like these cartoonish looking ones that are from the watercolor maps, and they're all right, but they're clearly an eye catcher kind of object. Like I started putting these, and I was like, I don't know, it just seems like out of the whole thing I'd be concerned with why there's this weird staircase that is right there. So I believe I ended up scrapping these and put just regular stone stairs with handles essentially going up the stairs. But yeah, we went through the entire thing. I'm like, oh, this looks good, this looks great, it's not a big deal. But then I was like, no, I can't do it. So I deleted. They have a great undo tool. Shift, Control Z or whatever it is. It's undo. And then we went with these stairs. And these stairs, to me, are a lot more. I don't know. It's a lot more realistic of a staircase. And we kind of sized them down. And you kind of want to line them up so that a player can go up the stairs, even if it's a diagonal, so they can diagonally go up the stairs. Again, this is me looking for another option, looking for something that might be better. Again, I went with this, turned the saturation down, turned the brightness down, and I was like, oh, it's rocky. It kind of looks all right. Like, it's not that big of a difference, big of a deal. And then I was like, I don't know. It kind of feels as though, I don't know. I think I went with these. They just look more like rock staircases, like they belong there. But I think I should have done the rails, the one with the rails at the beginning of the stair. And what you want to do is place your stairs strategically, because obviously if there's a staircase that goes all the way up to the crystal, that's, what's the point? Like, you want them to kind of be forced to move around the map, which is why I'm putting obstacles like stones here and there. So you want to put the staircase over here, and then when the other staircase all the way to the other side, and then kind of work your way up to the top. You don't want to put your staircases all together unless that's what you're going for, because if your players are gung-ho, if this whole point is to get to the air crystal as fast as you can, you want to make it worth it. So you want them running through your map and kind of going around the rocks, going through the map, or even climbing. They can forego the stairs and actually climb, and that's a challenge in and of itself, which I think is pretty cool. Here we're dotting with different stones. We did white and slightly gray ones, and here we're gonna go ahead and do our forest. We went with we're gonna do our brick road first, and that kind of goes out. And we kind of like shaded it a little bit. You kind of want to get those edges to make it look a little nicer. We went with some grass patches because, again, a ravine gets, I want to say, a decent amount of water. In most cases, a ravine gets a lot of water, but not a lot of sunlight. So what you want to do is grab, I went with some more rocks, some more little like rocks, and we kind of dotted the area where rocks would fall from the cliffside. And then we went ahead and grabbed, I think we grabbed these pine trees. Now, I thought pine trees would be good because they don't need a whole lot of sunlight, and they're obviously averse to cold environments. So I went with pine trees for that reason. Also, they just look good. It's okay to pick something that just looks good on the map, and evergreen is one of my favorite colors, so we went with pine trees. And then we went with some stumps. I always tend to put stumps directly in the middle of a square, and the reason I do that is because if a player would like the high ground but does not want to climb a tree, they can get up on top of a stump and have the high ground. A high ground for me in my games is a plus, I want to say a +2 bonus or something like that, to their ranged attack rolls on someone who has the low ground. But we went with a well. We found some rope and we put a little bucket next to it. It's where they get the water. Water's very important in a lot of maps, so you can argue that they get their water from wherever. You could put a bunch of barrels on the map and say they get their water in the barrels. Also save your progress, obviously. Please save your progress. Don't be me and work all the way through and not save your progress. We went with some more like greenish kind of foliage. We went like I want to say those are ferns, the other ones that we placed while I was talking, and some bushes, and they're autumn bushes, but we obviously changed the color to green to kind of match the area. And other than that, I think we're pretty well done. I think we added like some road stones, or some like stones that like path stones to follow essentially. And I went with blue. Maybe in hindsight I should have done like green or something, but I wanted something to stick out, so because you're following a path which needs something to stick out, and obviously you want these underneath the trees if they for whatever reason go there. And I think that is about it. We're gonna go ahead and save our map. Please save your map. Always do so. And there we go. I think we did pretty good on this map. I do like the simplified like little church in the corner. I like how the windstone is high up in the mountain, and even if it's a corner of the mountain, it's still high up in the mountain that you got to get to interact with it in some way. And I think the white mage would love to live here. And I think that'll be it. Do keep in mind that on my Patreon, all of my maps are free currently. You can donate if you want, but please feel free not to donate. Sorry about the dog in the background. But you don't have to donate. All my maps are free on the Patreon. I upload them as I upload the YouTube channel, so do give it a minute after I upload the YouTube video. But other than that, I hope you guys learned something, had fun, got some free maps, whatever the case is. I appreciate you stopping by and watching all the way up until this point. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.